It was the end of a 12-hour shift on a rainy night, and the vet was finishing his last patient.
Mrs. Higgins and her golden retriever were going home, leaving the vet alone to head to his bed.
All he wanted was peace, but heavy rain seemed to suggest that the night was far from over.
What was that?
The man outside wasn't holding a pet box, but he was carrying a bleeding friend in a red towel.
The vet pointed towards the hospital 4 blocks away, but wild-eyed man refused to leave and stared back at him.
The man pulled a pistol from his jacket and tapped it gently against the glass, making his intentions very clear. The man pulled a pistol from his jacket and tapped it gently against the glass, making his intentions very clear.
With shaking hands, he unlocked the door and knew that refusing this man is likely to be the last mistake.
They hoisted the gunshot victim onto the cold metal table where he usually treated dogs, staining the clean surface with dark human blood.
I only fix broken paws and give rabies shots.
I don't care about your lack of training.
But I'm not a people doctor.
You'll do as I say.
Fix him.
The gunman pointed the gun directly at the vet's chest and gave him a simple, terrifying choice to save his friend or join him in death.
I'll do it, please.
He grabbed a bottle of horse tranquilizer, praying that the dose meant for a massive animal wouldn't stop the man's heart right there on the table.
He worked with incredible speed using the heavy blue nylon thread he usually reserved for Great Danes to stitch the jagged wound back together again.
The gunman tossed a thick envelope on the table and told him to keep his mouth shut if he wanted to stay alive and healthy.
$5,000 cash was lying on the table. It was enough to save his clinic and finally start his daughter's college fund for next year.
He spent the next 3 hours cleaning every trace of blood from the floor, wondering if he should call the police or just keep the money.
In the end, his mounting bills and his daughter's future won the argument, so he hid the cash deep behind his old dusty tax return files.
3 nights later at 2 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang.
I heard the vet worked late.
Who is this?
Thinking of the red past due notice on his daughter's tuition bill, he gave the stranger his address and told them to use the back.
This time there was no gun pressed to the glass, but the air felt as dangerous as the first night.
The second patient was a woman with a deep wound that needed 47 neat stitches, and the vet worked with the steady hands of a professional.
Her partner handed over an envelope containing $10,000, which was double the pay of the first job, and then they vanished into the night.
10,000? This is crazy.
I have to go.
He began using the extra cash to upgrade his clinic, buying stronger lights and better tools that he could never have afforded on a vet's salary. Yes, confirm the order.
Not everyone who came through the back door was a criminal. Some were just regular people who had no insurance and nowhere else to go for help.
These are antibiotics for poultry, but they'll save your leg from a nasty infection. For chickens, is it safe? Yes. Take 1 pill twice a day. Okay, I understand. It will work just as well as it does on the farm.
The clinic is finally turning a corner, and I paid our daughter's full tuition.
You did the whole amount.
Yes, I wanted to.
Thank you.
He helped a mother who had burned her hands while cooking, knowing she couldn't go to a real hospital without losing her job and her home. This will help.
Thank you, course.
He started leaving the back door unlocked on Tuesday and Thursday nights, becoming a ghost doctor for the city's forgotten and the city's most dangerous.
Within 3 months, he had earned more than the previous 2 years combined, and he felt more capable and needed than he ever had before. He was now providing heavy-duty animal painkillers to desperate men who could never step foot in a pharmacy, and the cash flow was becoming absolutely unstoppable. He told himself the security cameras were for protection, but deep down he knew he was just protecting his growing pile of secret untaxed criminal money. He began using heavy veterinary staple guns to close deep puncture wounds, finding that humans were much easier to manage than the terrified animals he usually treated. During the quiet hours of the morning, He studied human anatomy with the same intensity he had once used to pass his very first veterinary medical exam.
With the filing cabinet completely full, he had to find a second hiding spot behind the water heater to store the thousands of dollars he earned.
He bought a luxury car but parked it blocks away to avoid suspicion, living a double life that was becoming harder and harder to manage every day.
He was now performing complex bone repairs using surgical drills meant for Dobermans, proving that he could fix almost anything that crawled through his back door.
He told his ex-wife the clinic was turning a corner, feeling a rush of pride as he paid his daughter's tuition for the semester.
He noticed the same cars idling near his clinic, and he realized that his new friends were keeping a very close eye.
He was starting to enjoy the feeling of power that came with having a secret second profession.
Not everyone who came through the back door was a criminal. Some were just people with nowhere else to go for help.
He was no longer just a vet, he was becoming a surgeon of the shadows, starting to disappear completely. The late-night texts were becoming a routine, and he no longer felt the sharp spike of fear that used to hit him. He was living two lives now, one as the animal doctor and the other as a high-paid shadow surgeon for the city's criminals. He felt capable and needed for the first time in his life, and that was his first major mistake on this dark road. After treating a dislocated shoulder at 2 a.m., he walked to his car unaware of the black van waiting in the shadows.
He didn't even have time to scream before the sliding door flew open and two powerful men stepped out to grab him before he could move.
His glasses fell to the pavement and shattered as he was hoisted off the ground by his collar, losing his vision.
Two powerful men pulled a thick black bag over his head, plunging his world into total darkness and driving off. He felt the van twisting through the city streets for what felt like hours, his hands tied tightly with plastic zip ties.
The van finally came to a stop in a place that sounded like a massive underground cave.
When the bag was finally removed, he found himself in a secret high-tech hospital facility that was hidden far away. A man in a sharp suit stood over him, looking at the vet not as a person, but as a useful tool that he now owned. He realized he was standing in a real hospital-like facility with expensive equipment behind glass walls.
It's time to put your unique medical skills to the test.
The vet recognized him immediately. It was the crime lord who owns everything that moves through the city after the sun.
This surgery is far beyond my skills. I'm only a doctor for animals.
The suit reminded him that he had been keeping people with horse pills, and this was just one more mammal.
A guard's hand rested heavily on his gun, and the vet realized that the time for making his own choices had come to an end. With no other choice left, the vet began to prepare for the most important surgery. He scrubbed his hands, trying to wash away fear and the realization that he was about to save a literal monster.
He was paired with a skilled nurse assistant handing him tools that cost more than his entire clinic. He saw internal bleeding on the monitors, a sight that was familiar from all the treated dogs.
He hesitated over the crime lord's stomach, knowing this man had destroyed countless families. He thought of his daughter's smile, knowing he had to survive this night if he ever wanted to see her.
He finally began the surgery, working faster than before, his hands moving with the grace of a master surgeon in the dark.
He cleared away the blood, realizing that the crime lord's heart was still beating strongly against all the odds.
Hours passed as he worked to repair the damage, the only sound being the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor.
He successfully clamped the leaking artery, a technique he had mastered while saving a dog.
He exchanged a look with the nurse, a moment of respect that felt wrong given circumstances of how both got here.
He tied the final knot on the skin, ensuring that the man who owned the city would live to see another day.
He dropped his gloves, feeling a strange emptiness in his chest as the adrenaline finally began to fade away. He didn't recognize the man staring back at him, wondering when exactly he had stopped being a healer of animals.
The man in the suit returned smiling like a predator as he looked at the stable heart rate of the man.
He felt empty, as if he had left a vital part of his own soul along with the crime lord's blood.
Can I get a ride home? I just want to see my daughter and sleep in my own bed.
The vet realized with a jolt of terror that he was no longer a guest but a very valuable prisoner.
The crime lord woke up and smiled at the vet that made the doctor's skin crawl with a deep dread.
"You saved my life."
He whispered that a gift like his was far too rare to be wasted on simple household house pets. "I've been looking for someone just like you."
for years.
I won't stay here! My daughter's wedding! I have to walk her down the aisle!
The suit promised him that his daughter would have everything she ever needed, provided the vet did exactly what he was told to do. His daughter will be taken care of by the best schools, and she won't even notice her father is gone forever. He collapsed against the glass, realizing that the money he had been hiding behind his water heater had been the bait for this very expensive trap.
The suit's voice filled the room, telling him to get some rest because his new life of shadow surgeries would begin very early the following morning.
He looked at the medical textbooks and realized he was being forced to evolve from a healer of animals into a cold-blooded surgeon for the damned.
He thought back to that first rainy night, when the gunman tapped his pistol on the glass, realizing he should have never opened that locked door.
He thought he was making a choice, and that he was in control of his life, but he was wrong about everything from the very beginning.
He had spent his entire life saving innocent animals, but now by saving a monster, he had finally become an animal himself in this golden cage.
Months passed in that white room, and the vet slowly stopped being a man who cared and became a machine that simply fixed broken human bodies. He watched his daughter graduate through a flickering television screen, knowing that his imprisonment was the high price he paid for her bright and successful future.
He was fed the finest food and given every comfort he could ever want, yet he felt like a starving man wandering through a vast empty desert.
He kept a single photo of the last dog he ever treated, a reminder of a life that now felt like a dream from a different person. The crime lord watched him work with a possessive pride, knowing he had successfully tamed the most talented and useful animal in his massive private collection.
Hold still. I'm almost done.
That's our vet. Good boy.
Ah, it hurts! He's a real performer.
Thank you.
Just doing my job.
Back in the real world, his clinic sat empty and rotting, a silent monument to a man who thought he could outsmart the devil for money.
His hands never shook anymore. But he realized that was only because he no longer felt the weight of the lives he was being forced to save.
He was surrounded by wealth that he could never spend. A king of a kingdom that consisted only of 4 white walls and a surgical table.
This is wonderful.
Of course, miss. We're going now. His daughter lived a beautiful life, never knowing that her safety and success were built on the broken spirit of the father she thought had vanished. He stopped counting the days and started counting the scars on his own heart, realizing that the man he used to be was truly dead now.
He had become the very thing he once feared, a creature of the dark who lived for the cut and the stitch in the midnight hours.
He was the most valuable animal in the world, and he finally understood that he would never be allowed to leave his high-tech golden prison cell. He thought he was saving his family, but in the end he only succeeded in becoming a ghost that haunted a very expensive and sterile white room.
You spent your entire life saving innocent animals, but by choosing the money over the light, you have finally become just another animal in a cage.
If you enjoyed this one, you're going to love what's coming up next. I've picked out this specific video just for you. Click right here to keep the momentum going. See you over there!